Now that you guys know the Qur'an, your timeline, are you ready to learn 3 new tricks that you couldn't have done without knowing this? Make sure before you start this episode that you go to the link in the description below at my website, The Revelation Experience, and download the free PDF that I have waiting for you. It is a PDF of the Qur'an, your timeline, both filled out with all the answers and empty so that you can quiz yourself. You're going to use that PDF today so that you can practice those 3 tricks I'm about to teach you. First, let's do that intro. Assalamu alaikum, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Revelation Experience. In the last episode, we had a big one, and I really appreciate for all of you guys sticking through with that. Thank you for sharing in your comments. Means a lot to me. Today, we're taking a break. We're going to do something fun before we get heavy again, because the last episode was pretty heavy. I want to show you 3 tricks that I am able to use with the Qur'an, your timeline, that really help me kind of navigate the story of the Qur'an and the story of the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, in a way that's just quick, efficient, and powerful. So, what are those 3 tricks? Well, you have to understand, you know what, actually, let's put up a Qur'an, your timeline right here on the board real quick. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Jeez. 1, 2, 3. There we go. See, sometimes you just need that. Oh no. Let's turn it back on again. 1, 2, 3. Okay, no more snapping. Here we go. We're talking about the Qur'an, your timeline, and I want to show you 3 tricks that help make it easy for me using Qur'an, your numbers. So we have this Qur'an, your timeline right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way to 23. You guys know this inside out. Early Meccan, late Meccan, early Medinan, late Medinan quadrants. What we're going to do is 3 tricks. The 3 tricks are how to navigate A, the age of the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him. B, comparing it, getting the Gregorian years. And C, comparing this to the Hijri system. So let's begin with the kind of the more challenging one, okay? Let's talk about the Hijri system. What is the Hijri calendar? The Hijri calendar is the Islamic calendar, and the Islamic calendar is something that was established after the death of the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, because the Muslim community needed to start keeping track of time, right? Years. How many years have passed by since the Prophet died, peace upon him? How many years have passed by since this or since that, and so forth? And so the community decided to start the Qur'an, the sequence of Islamic years after the Hijrah, because the Hijrah was a very important moment in this whole journey of being with the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him. And so what the consensus is, and this is where we are today now, is that we established that the clock would begin right here with year 1, and then you'd have year 2, year 3, and so forth. And this is AH, okay, after Hijri. And these numbers right here would be 1, 2, and 3, but this is BH, before Hijri, okay? So as you can see here, this is very similar to the Gregorian calendar in the sense that, you know, they were marking the life of Jesus, peace be upon him, and so they'll say AD and BC, right? And so the Muslim calendar, they decided to do the same thing, but they're using this moment right here as a defining moment that goes forward in time, and then this is negative in time. Now, this is the calendar that we have. This is the calendar that was given to us by the rightly guided caliphs, and so of course we accept this system. I want to show you the difference between using the Qur'an year system to study the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, and using the Hijri system. Now let me preface this by saying one thing, which is really important. This is in no way, me coming up with the Qur'an year calendar and the Qur'an year timeline is in no way an attempt to, overthrow the Hijri system or anything like that. Of course, I believe in the Hijri system. That's how, we have inherited it from our predecessors and so forth. But I'm using the Qur'an year timeline more as a cognitive aid, not as some historical thing, right? So how do we understand what happened during the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him? Now, I'll challenge you, when you look at your own life, we often don't look at our own lives and say, oh, high school was -4 years before college, right? We don't look at our life in terms of negative years and positive years. We generally just start counting from the beginning and we move forward in time. And so because that's how I think about my own life, it's like how I like to think about the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him. The challenge with the Hijri system right here is essentially these are negative numbers, right? So you have -1, -2, -3. And so when you say that something happened in -6, I get that you got to go in this direction, but the math starts getting kind of weird. And the major reason for that is because in a counting system, you have -3, -2, -1. You should have a 0, but there's no such thing as a 0 year. Even in the Gregorian system, there's no such thing as a 0. We have no such thing as a 0 in this Islamic year system too, and that makes it challenging in terms of counting. Let me give you an example. Say, for example, we're trying to understand, and we talked about this in the last episode, the conversion of Sayyidina Hamza, who was the uncle of the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him. The question is this now. Say the question is, how many years was Hamza supporting the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, as a believer? Well, let's do some math here. Well, we can now count up when Hamza embraced Islam. So we know that was in year 6 right here, right? So according to the Hijri system, that would be -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7. So Hamza, he embraced Islam in 7 BH, before Hijrah. And when was he killed? Right? This was he was martyred at the Battle of Uhud, right? And that was in Qur'an year 16. So that would be +1, +2, +3, +4. So he was martyred in 4 after Hijrah. Okay, with that information, how long was Hamza supporting the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him? And this is where I just find it confusing, because what do I do with these AHs and BHs? Do I take 4 and subtract it from 7? Well, that gives me -3. But then I realize, oh, I gotta subtract a -7, and 2 negatives make a positive, so then that means 11 years. So is the answer 11 years? Hamza was supporting the Prophet for 11 years? Now the question is that actually accurate? Because if we look at it from a Qur'an year perspective, we can just say, okay, and let's do this in a different color ink here, so that we can kind of show the difference between the two. In the Qur'an year system, we will say that Hamza converted in Qur'an year 6, and Hamza was killed at Uhud in Qur'an year 16, and all you have to do is subtract, and here we see that it's actually 10 years. So is the answer 11 years or is the answer 10 years? And this is where it's helpful for me, is that it is actually 10 years, right? If we count out, after year 6 he converted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the reason why it's 10 years and not 11 is because there is a 0 spacer year, which is not used in the Hijri system. So this is the first thing that I really like about the Qur'an year system, for just navigating and understanding how the Quran is revealed and different events. All you need to do is know the mnemonic and the number, and a different mnemonic and a number, you subtract the two and you have that span of difference between the two. So that right there is the first trick that you can know, is just how to navigate these years without getting all bogged down with the Hijri system. I'm not telling you to throw out the Hijri system, follow the Hijri system, date things by the Hijri system if you want to, but when you're just trying to understand the cognitively understand this, I think it's just easier to count from 1 and go all the way to 23. So that is the first trick. Now the second trick that we're going to do is talking about the life of the Prophet Muhammad, and this is really important. How old was he at any given period of time when an event was happening? And for this trick, it's actually very easy. All you have to do is remember the age of 39. Okay, and all you have to do whenever you have an event, let's just talk about, since we mentioned Sayyidina Hamza, how old was the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, when Hamza embraced Islam? Well, all you have to do is take his age, 39. What year did Hamza embrace Islam? In 6, so you add Quran year 6 to it, and we know that the Prophet, peace upon him, was roughly 45 years old. How old was the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, when he made the Hijrah? Well, again, take 39. We're going to add, the Hijrah was in year 13. The Prophet, peace upon him, was 2, carry the 1, 52 years old. So for me, I find this really important. I like to look at my life in terms of where I am compared to the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him. And of course, I'm always behind him in terms of what he's doing and what I'm doing, but I think it's helpful to just get a sense of that. Otherwise, you're doing Hijri years and then negative numbers, and you're trying to add the Prophet's age, and it gets very confusing. Here, as long as you memorize the Quran, your timeline, you will always know how old the Prophet was at any given time. Let's try one or two more examples. How old was the Prophet at the conquest of Mecca? Remember, Mecca, 20/20 vision. Up here, all we do is take 20, add 39. The Prophet right here is 59 years old. He's 58 here, and he's 57 here at the Battle of the Trench. So for me, I just find that really easy, and I think that's a really helpful tool to have. How old is the Prophet, peace upon him, at any given time? I actually like to apply this to other people too. Once you know the ages of other people, it kind of actually gets fun. So for example, Sayyidina Abu Bakr, he was 2 years younger than the Prophet. So all I do, instead of using 39 for the way we use 39 for the Prophet, peace upon him, I just use 37 for Sayyidina Abu Bakr. So how old is Sayyidina Abu Bakr? Let's see here. During the long year of sadness, 37 plus 10, Sayyidina Abu Bakr was 47 years old. I love being able to know that information. And then you can just keep adding more and more people. As long as you know their age at the beginning, you just add the Quran year, good to go. Okay, so that's 2 tricks. We've talked about how it's a little bit easier to navigate compared to the Hijri system. Number 2, we talked about how to know the age of the Prophet, peace upon him, at any given time. Number 3, we're going to talk about how to calculate the approximate Gregorian year of any event that happened during the life of the Prophet. Let's take a look. So for this one, again, you only have to remember one number, and that number is 609. Let's put it right here, because 609 is the year that the Qur'an year timeline started. So what year, according to the Gregorian calendar, did revelation come to the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him? Well, it started in the Quran year 1. 1 plus 609 is 610 is when it began. When did the Prophet pass away? Well, let's see here. We have 609, and the final year was year 23. This is the Quran year, right? Let's add the 2 together. 9 plus 3 is 12. Carry the 1, 3, 632, right? And we call this common era, general. So 632 common era is when we believe roughly the Prophet, peace upon him, passed away. Let's do 2 more. Because I like doing this right now because we're actually reviewing the Quran year timeline, which we went over in the previous episode. So, which one should we pick that we haven't done yet? Why don't we say, when was the year that the companions were doing the caravan raids? Well, remember, that was in that heavy 3rd quadrant here, and we have that mnemonic HRBUBTH. The Hijrah resulted in battle upon battle till Hudaybiyah. The Hijrah resulted R. This is the year of the raids. What year is that? That's Quran year 14. So 609 plus 14, it's a 3. Carry the 1, 2, 623. Common era. How easy is this, guys? Super easy, right? So you understand why I like it compared to the Hijri system when it comes to understanding the story of the Prophet, peace be upon him. You've seen how I love it because I use it as a tool to calculate the age of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and the age of other prominent companions at any given time. And it's just really easy to calculate the Gregorian year. Now, let me just say one last thing to you about the Gregorian year and the Islamic calendar. For those who are not familiar with this, the Gregorian system is a system which most of us use today, right? Our year system. It's a solar system, and it's based on fixed dates. Right? And, this is this calendar that most of you live by, that most businesses conducted around the world. The Islamic calendar, very similar to the Hebrew calendar, is a lunar system. So it's based on the sighting of the moon. So you don't know in the future when it will be the first of the month or not, because it is based on the sighting of the moon. And those years are generally shorter than solar years, which is why for those of you who fast, right, in Ramadan moves throughout the seasons because the calendar doesn't stay fixed. Ramadan is not always in the summer. Thankfully, that could be kind of challenging. It moves it cycles throughout the year. So because of that, when you're taking events in the lunar calendar and you're trying to map it onto this Gregorian solar system, you're looking at approximations. Because when you say something happened in like Hijri, this month, and Rabi al-Awwal in this month, to just say specifically that day correlates to this day is very difficult because that day could have been variable depending on the sighting of the moon and so forth. So all of this, when we're looking at the life of the Prophet Muhammad, when we're looking at Islamic history that's often dated by the Islamic calendar, we're looking at gross general approximations for when it comes to years. And this is really important because there is a difference of opinion on when exactly things happen. I speak about this at length in one of the appendices of my book Revelation, in this appendix called The Uncertainty of Dates, because getting the exact date of things was very difficult, specifically in the earlier Meccan period, because there were less people there writing down what was happening. And also there was just, it was a lot further back in time for people to remember exactly when that event happened. The dates in the later Medinan period, we know a lot more confidently. That being said, this system gives you a ballpark. And like I said, I'm not here to try to get you to name exactly, tell me the day and the year and the month, because I don't see how that really helps you living a more powerful life. What's more important is that you have a general gestalt, a general feeling of what's going on, and then you can take that information, right? We have this model right here. You take this information that's right here, and then you make it your own. That's the important part, is making it your own, knowing, oh, the Prophet, peace be upon him, was this old when this happened. I'm hitting, 47 or 42 or, 58. Where do I stack up next to the Prophet, peace be upon him? Where do I stack up to Sayyidina Abu Bakr? That, to me, is the important part of the information, not the exact day and the month and the year and so forth. So I just want to explain to you my mindset about that. That being said, when it came to the dates and putting together the Qur'an year timeline, I created a spreadsheet and compared at least like 5 or 6 highly respected calendar systems by different scholars who have studied Sirah. And going at all those, I will tell you there are differences between those, but I do feel pretty confident in the Qur'an year timeline as I have developed it, because I've looked at the consensus of a lot of highly respected scholars and timelines to come up with a system that makes the most sense and tends to agree with the majority opinions on when things occurred. So anyway, you guys learned 3 new tricks to how to use the Qur'an year timeline effectively, just to kind of negotiate dates and so forth. In the next episode, what should we do in the next episode? We still have so much to talk about. I think we're going to dive into the major themes of the Qur'an and what this has to do with your life. But first, remember, make sure you go to my website, therevelationexperience.com, so that you can not only download that PDF I told you about earlier, but so that you can get free access to the Revelation audio experience. It is the audio book to my entire book, Revelation. It's over 100 episodes, all recorded for you to access for free so that you can begin your journey of transformation. Anyway, I can't wait to see you guys in the next episode. Feel free to share this with anyone who you think might benefit from it. I will see you guys soon, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.